He came to clean floors, not fight wars. But inside a high-end MMA gym in Phoenix, a quiet black janitor was about to become the target of something far uglier than sweat and blood. Mocked, humiliated, and pushed past his breaking point, Marcus Williams had spent years swallowing pride just to survive. Yet one man's cruelty would awaken a fighter the world had forgotten existed. What started as another night of cleaning would end with every phone in the gym recording the moment power, arrogance, and prejudice collided. They thought they were about to watch a lesson in dominance. But the real lesson was only seconds away. For 3 years, Marcus Williams had been invisible. Every night, just before closing, he'd wheel his mop bucket to the back door of Iron Forge Academy, a gleaming MMA gym built for Phoenix's wealthy elite. The smell of sweat and disinfectant hung in the air as laughter from young fighters echoed through the halls. Marcus kept his head down, scrubbing floors that gleamed under the same lights where champions trained. To them, he was background noise. To his daughter, Maya, he was survival. A man working 2 jobs to keep the lights on after cancer took everything but their will to endure. What no one at Iron Forge saw was that behind those quiet eyes lived decades of discipline. The kind of experience that didn't come from cleaning up after fighters, but from once being one. His hands, now calloused from bleach and mops, had once worn gloves laced with pride. But that part of Marcus stayed buried, hidden beneath years of exhaustion and a world that had already decided his worth. Still, every night, as he wiped down mirrors and heavy bags, he'd pause, just long enough to remember what it felt like to move with power, precision, and purpose. Then, he'd push those memories aside and return to the silence of routine. He thought he knew how to survive men like Derek Stone. But survival was about to take on a whole new meaning. Because the next time Marcus picked up his mop, someone would decide he didn't belong there at all, and make sure he never forgot it. The first insult came disguised as a joke. "Careful around the mats, boy." Derek Stone sneered loud enough for everyone to hear. The laughter that followed cut sharper than any punch Marcus had ever taken. At first, he tried to ignore it. After all, the job was all he had left, and Maya's tuition wasn't going to pay itself. But Derek wasn't satisfied with silence. Each day, the harassment grew bolder. He'd time Marcus's cleaning, so the janitor had him mop around active sparring sessions, forcing him to dodge sweaty fighters in flying gloves. He'd accidentally kick over mop buckets, sending dirty water splashing across Marcus's legs while students smirked. The word boy became his favorite weapon, loaded with venom, dropped casually in front of the same cameras that watched every punch thrown in that gym. Sarah Martinez, the gym manager, tried to look away, but she knew what she was witnessing. Everyone did. Still, no one said a word, because Derek Stone wasn't just a trainer. He was the face of the academy, the man whose clients filled the gym's bank account. To challenge him meant risking your livelihood. For Marcus, it meant risking his daughter's future. So he kept quiet, each insult becoming another scar beneath the skin. But Derek couldn't stand quiet strength. He needed to break Marcus completely. One night, during a packed training session, Derek called across the floor, "Hey, Marcus, show the kids how a real man mops." The laughter was immediate, but Marcus stayed calm. That calm, that quiet defiance, was gasoline to Derek's fragile ego. Soon, Derek started using Marcus as a prop in his demonstrations, shoving him backward to show how real fighters hold their ground. He'd clip his shoulder with punches that landed just hard enough to sting, all under the guise of training. Marcus endured it all, burying his anger deep enough to survive another day. But when a viral video appeared online, security footage of Marcus hitting a heavy bag with perfect precision, posted on Derek's own social media with the caption, "When a helper gets his place," everything changed. Within hours, the comments flooded in. Racist jokes, mockery, strangers reducing years of his pain to a meme. And when Maya found that video, tears streaming as she asked why her father never stood up for himself, something inside Marcus shifted. That night, alone in the empty gym, he unwrapped the hand wraps hidden in his cleaning cart. The sound of the leather tightening around his wrists echoed like thunder in the silence. His reflection in the mirror wasn't a janitor anymore. It was a fighter he'd buried years ago. Every punch he threw landed with purpose, shaking the bag, the walls, and the fear that had chained him. He didn't know that Coach Rivera was watching from the doorway, seeing not a broken man, but a warrior rediscovering his power. What neither of them knew was that Derek was already planning his next move, one final act of humiliation to destroy Marcus once and for all. But when a man's dignity has already been stripped away, what's left to lose, except the chance to fight back? Friday night, the gym looked nothing like the place Marcus had spent years cleaning. Phones lined the walls, a crowd packed shoulder to shoulder, and in the center of it all, Derek Stone stood grinning, basking in the attention. The challenge had gone viral. The janitor who dared to fight his boss. For Derek, this was about ego. For Marcus, it was survival, one last chance to reclaim the dignity stolen from him. The air buzzed with tension as Rivera taped Marcus's hands in silence. No music, no speeches, just the sound of leather tightening and a heart that refused to bow. When Sarah called fight, Derek came out swinging like a man trying to erase humiliation. The crowd roared, expecting a beating. But Marcus didn't move like a janitor. He slipped, dodged, deflected. Every punch Derek threw cut nothing but air. Years of hidden discipline came alive, each motion a reminder of who he used to be. The arrogance on Derek's face cracked into confusion, then panic. Marcus began answering back, not with rage, but with precision, a jab that snapped Derek's head back, a cross that silenced the crowd. Phones shook as they filmed the reversal of power, a moment too real to fake. Derek stumbled, swinging wild, pride breaking faster than his defense. Marcus stepped in, eyes calm, heart steady, and landed one perfect hook. The sound was unmistakable, a sharp crack that cut through the air and dropped Derek Stone flat to the mat. The crowd froze, phones raised, mouths open. The man who'd mocked, humiliated, and belittled him lay unconscious at his feet. Marcus didn't celebrate. He didn't gloat. He knelt beside Derek, checking his pulse, whispering something no microphone caught. When Derek's eyes flickered open, Marcus helped him sit up, because true strength wasn't in the punch, but in the mercy that followed it. Around them, the same audience that once laughed now erupted in stunned applause. Every phone in that room captured the moment a man who was treated like dirt rose higher than anyone expected, and shattered the illusion of who held the real power. But while the crowd cheered his victory, Marcus knew the fight wasn't over. Because what happens after the knockout is what truly defines a man. The next morning, the video of Derek Stone's defeat spread faster than wildfire. Within hours, #JusticeForMarcus trended across every platform. Millions watched as the man once mocked as a janitor dismantled his oppressor with grace, discipline, and restraint. But for Marcus, the victory wasn't about views or vindication. It was about freedom. For the first time in years, he walked into Iron Forge Academy without lowering his eyes. The same people who once laughed now move aside in silence, unsure how to face the man who had exposed the truth they'd ignored. Derek never returned to the gym. Officially, it was medical leave. Unofficially, it was a collapse of a reputation built on arrogance and hate. Sarah Martinez forwarded her documentation of Derek's abuse to the gym's owners. They terminated his contract within a week. Coach Rivera took over management, reinstating Marcus not as a janitor, but as an assistant trainer. The man who once cleaned sweat from the floor now taught others how to fight with purpose, humility, and respect. But even in victory, Marcus knew the scars ran deep in the ring. Maya still flinched when she heard the slur boy. The world still treated men who looked like her father as threats until proven harmless. For every Marcus who stood up, there were hundreds who couldn't afford to. And that was the real fight, the one that didn't end with a knockout, but with a question that hung heavy in the silence of that gym. Why does a black man have to bleed to be seen as equal? The video might have ended with applause, but the story behind it, of years of quiet endurance, of pain masked of professionalism, of a system that rewards cruelty and punishes humility, was far from over. Marcus never spoke publicly about the fight. He didn't need to. His silence carried more power than any victory speech. Every jab, every dodge, every act of restraint told a story for him. The next time he stepped into that ring, it wasn't to prove anything. It was to teach. And every student who trained under him learned the same lesson Derek Stone never did. Real strength isn't measured by how hard you hit, but by what you choose to stand for when the world keeps trying to knock you down. So ask yourself, when you see injustice, will you stay silent like the crowd, or will you finally step into the ring?